Bill talked to his dad, and his dad said, "Jim, we've got a reporter opening if you want to give it a try." It was near the end of the school year, and I thought, well, I really enjoyed what I was doing, so I did give it a try. And I really had a chance then to find out how satisfying and rewarding newspaper work is. And I don't mind telling you, from that time on, coming to work every day has been an extreme pleasure. It's been a challenge. And I know a lot of days I came to work, probably should have stayed home sick. My wife said I didn't need to be at work, but I just didn't want to miss anything. The news business, it keeps you right in the forefront of what's taking place, in the community. And I've been to the legislature. I enjoy going down there. You got a front row seat. It's the thrill of being on the front line and the satisfaction you get. I've had people tell me who physically lay out the newspaper and say when they get a press page would look at it, just felt a sense of pride. Their name wasn't on there anywhere, but they knew this was something they created. And I think that's the big drawing card, is that you're a real professional and an artist in some way, a photographer, a reporter, whatever your job may be, you're creating something that's going to last an awfully long time. Finest hour, I guess, I think the Jupiter labor violence. I was just one part of the coverage of the Jupiter labor violence in 1976, but it's probably the biggest story that the newspapers covered in the 50 years that I've been here. They did some big stories prior to my arrival, but that was the big one. There was one man killed at a construction site in West Calcasieu Parish, and the paper really stuck its neck out and really tried to get to the root of the problem. We had editorials. I wrote a lot of columns about it. The net result of that was it took a year or two, or a few more years than that maybe. We ended up with a new district attorney. The previous district attorney had been involved too thickly with some of the labor unions, and they got a little bit too much power. And one of the biggest results of that Jupiter incident and our coverage of it was the passage of the right to work law at the legislature, which is still on the books today, which the legislators had tried for many, many years to pass that law, but they were never successful. But that wasn't the only reason, but that played a big part in it. So I felt like that's where the newspaper really made its mark in the time that I've been here. Over the years, I've had a lot of readers ask me why I write opinion columns. I started writing a column on a regular basis in 1975. I'd written a number of them before that, but I really thought I had something to offer, maybe, particularly in the area of politics. But my two goals were, number one was to write about controversial issues that a lot of people are reluctant to talk about. And it has been a fertile field. We've had a number of major and minor political controversies during the 50 years I've been here, and it's been nice to be able to comment on those when a lot of times people might say, well, you really don't need to get into those areas. And the second goal that I set for myself was to try to explain government in as simple a terms as people would understand. And when people, every now and then will say, thanks for, as someone did at church recently, thanks for explaining redistricting, what that really means. It gives you some pretty good feedback. The nicest thing, I guess, I really felt good about it was back in, I brought a copy of it here in 1986 when I won an award from the Associated Press. And the judges, here's what one of the judges said about the columns that I submitted. He said, as a columnist, Jim Beam has an informal, chatty style that flows easily, almost like he was talking to the reader. And I really felt good about that, because that's kind of what I've tried to do over the years, is talk to the readers. And now, thanks to new technology, they have a avenue by which they can respond and offer comments to the things that I've written and express their opinions. And that's good, and that's healthy too. As Don Kingley told me one time, he said, Jim, as long as the phones keep ringing here and people keep complaining about something you write or something the paper did or didn't do, then we're going to be okay. But he said when those phones stop ringing, then you need to start worrying. Maybe you're not doing a very good job. I think the newspaper industry will survive, but it will only survive with comprehensive coverage of local news. I saw where a newspaper in one of the northern states was having to lay off its printing crew and shut down its printing press, but the young couple, probably in their early 40s, middle 40s, said, we're going to survive in this town because we're going to give people the news that they really can't get in detail anywhere else. And I really took that to heart, and I think the American press has proved in recent years, even during tough economic times for newspapers, that if it continues to supply people with the basic local news in depth and the commentary that they need, it will last a long time, because technology is going to pass us by, and what we're doing today in the video area, I think, is an expansion of what we can do, and I think it's another way to spread our coverage and explain to people what it is we do and why we do a lot of the things that we do. So I'm very hopeful that the newspaper is going to survive, but it has to be with local news. I remember publisher U. Sherman one time, we were at a coffee group meeting at the paper, and he said, what are you guys talking about? We said, we're worried about our future, about our jobs, all this technology. He said, fellas, rest at ease. He said, if any department at the newspaper will grow in the next 50 years, it'll be the newsroom, because there has to be someone to go out and gather the news.